Hi, and welcome to today's edition of PraxHacks. Today we're going to be talking about strengthening your writing through edits, but also how this might apply to the multiple choice questions as well. So stick around. First, we got to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor today is Upside. It is a free app that you can use, download, and get money back on things that you buy anyway. Gas is the number one thing that this is used for, but it also can be used for groceries and also for dining out. You save money, or at least you get money back, and whatever reward system you're currently a part of, you get to keep those rewards too. So it's just bonus money coming back to you by using the Upside app. And if you use that promo code UWVQ4, you're going to get an extra 15 cents per gallon back on your first fill up. So could be up to about 30 to 40 cents back on that first fill up. So yeah, download the Upside app. I highly recommend it, especially for us teachers. But let's get into today's lesson. So we're talking about strengthening your own writing by just using a little editing. You're wanting to look for things like spelling errors, punctuation errors, and grammar errors. Now, the picture here, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the old red pen and the paper printed copy, and then having somebody edit it. The thing that's a little bit different with this Praxis test is that it's all online. It's all on a computer screen. Therefore, you can't really have that printout, that hard copy, and make those error marks and kind of proofread that way. You've got to do it on screen. I feel like that's a little tricky and something that you probably should practice before going into the test. Also, keep in mind, there is no spell check or grammar check on this test. You are completely just like writing on paper without anything else. Can you spell correctly? Can you use the right punctuation? Can you use the right grammar? These are things you're going to have to know for your own writing, but also then this would tie in nicely with looking for mistakes in those multiple choice questions. Here's 2 tricks. When you're writing and you come to something and you're just not sure about it, when in doubt, leave it out. So let's say you're working on writing about something with a word that you're just not real sure how to spell. Think about another word that means the same thing. Think about rephrasing that sentence so that you can just completely leave it out. Because if you're not sure how to spell it and you spell it wrong, it will cost you some marks possibly on your essay. So be very careful. The other trick, especially works for the source-based essay, is look at what you're given. So let's look back at that passage. It's right up there in that top window. If a certain word is in that passage that you need to spell, by all means, go back up and look and spell it correctly. Use what you're given, and you'll be surprised. Oftentimes, what you want will be already given to you somewhere in that writing. Punctuation. I feel like most people are pretty comfortable with periods and question marks and exclamation marks, but the dreaded comma. People often struggle with commas. Where do I put them? When do I use them? I go into this more in the book that I'll tell you about here at the end, but for the most part, if you were reading something out loud and you would pause, it's probably a comma, as long as it's still part of the sentence. That's the dreaded comma sort of rule of thumb. If there's a slight pause, it's probably a comma. Other things that give people problems oftentimes are those colons and semicolons. Those are going to be a whole video on themselves. I probably could also do a whole video on just commas, but anyway, pause usually will take, if you pause when you read it to yourself, it's probably a comma. Trust your ear for grammar usually. Oftentimes, if you're just like, oh, I don't know if that's the right tense, or I don't know if that's saying it correctly, if you say it aloud to yourself, usually we use relatively decent grammar, but the reason that usually is in there, because this graffiti is an excellent example. Should have stayed home. Should have stayed home. It should be should apostrophe VE. Should have stayed home. It's short for have. Should have stayed home. But we oftentimes, as American speakers, make it sound like of. Should have stayed home, when it should have been should have stayed home. I know it's all kind of confusing, but notice this is a perfect example of how you can't always trust your ear, and a perfect example of what it's like to write without spell check, such as with graffiti. No spell check there. But anyway, yeah, just to reinforce, no spell check or grammar check. We're too reliant on it, I feel like sometimes. The other side of that is I feel like this test is kind of out of touch without spell check and grammar check. But anyway, just be aware, no spell check or grammar check on this Praxis 5723 test. And if you like today's video, please like and subscribe and tell your friends about us. Also, if you want more information or more work and more practice on this Writing 5723, please look at our books. They're available on Amazon. We currently have writing and reading. Hopefully, before too long, we will also add math. We drop a video every day, at least one every day, to try to get as many people to pass these tests and help as many people as possible. I want to thank you today for watching, and join us again soon.